Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here. In today's video, I want to sadly talk about the Washington Commanders 2026 NFL draft kind of order, where I think they'll be, picking in this draft, what they can do with that pick, and much more. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and that notification bell as well, so you never miss a video. Let's get into the video, and real quick, want to, send out my prayers and thoughts to, Marshawn Yellen's family. Obviously, really unfortunate situation there. Checking on your friends, family, ever know what they're going through, but now, unfortunately, I have to segue to the rest of the video, but, did want to mention that. So the Commanders, this season's over. I know, some people might still think the season's alive. I do not. It's been, once the Cowboys game happened, it was wraps, guys. It really was wraps. I mean, Jaden getting hurt and you just getting stomped on by a division rival 44-22. I mean, that was just absolutely pathetic. And then you get beat by the Chiefs without Jaden. All right, and then the next week you get absolutely humiliated Sunday Night Football against the Seahawks, and your franchise quarterback gets hurt. But he was playing, and you still were, playing like it's just awful. It was awful. So this season, it's done. It's done, and it's been done, and now it's focusing on developing these young players the rest of the 2025 season, and then also making sure they get a good draft pick, which shouldn't be hard. Right now, they have the 9th pick in the 2026 NFL draft. There is still a lot of football to be played, about half of the season left. So, there's a lot of these teams that might go on winning streaks, a lot of these teams that might end up, losing, and, some of these teams in this, 10 to 18 range might find themselves in that top 10 range. So, it'll be very interesting, to see there. But the Commanders are, they're trending in the wrong direction record-wise, but the right direction draft pick-wise. So, the Commanders, they're at 9th right now, and, there's some teams that they're not going to catch up to. They're not going to catch up to the New Orleans Saints. They're not going to catch up to the Titans. They're not going to catch up to the Jets. Those are the three. I'm sorry, guys, the Commanders are not getting a top 3 pick. After that, though, it's up for grabs. I mean, the, Commanders have 3 wins right now. The rest of these teams, though, above them have 2 that I'm talking about that we could compete with in terms of getting a bad draft pick. And I know there's going to be people in the comments saying, we shouldn't be focusing on draft stuff. I'm not going to be talking about, draft stuff every week, but in this scenario, the season's like kind of officially over. So I do want to give you guys just a rundown of the Commanders draft situation. And, when there's major updates, I'll give you guys I'll give you guys updates on their order and where they're at. But just wanted to start it here and then go over some players that they maybe could go after. But they're at 9th. I think some teams that they could jump per se, Bengals for sure. I think they could jump them. The Giants, I think the Giants have been bad, but I think the Commanders could jump them when they're going to play the Giants, and then just in general, the Giants have had a little bit of a spark, and the Commanders are going to have Marcus Mariota at quarterback the rest of the way. I just don't see how they win more than 2 games the rest of the way. So like best case scenario, like record wise, not draft pick wise, but record wise, I would say is 5 wins. So 5-12 on the season, which I think would definitely move them up a little bit. But you're competing with these teams right here. But the good thing is you play the Dolphins. So if they lose that changes things. Same thing with the Giants, and then some of these other teams. I think the Bengals will win some games. They've been in a little bit of a losing streak there, but I think that'll turn around in a little bit. Who knows? They might get Joe Burrow back, rest of the season. I'm not saying I'm rooting for, I'm going to be rooting hard for them to lose these games. I'm not also going to be getting off my couch and yelling at the TV when, they make a big play or they make a bad play. Because at this point, guys, it doesn't matter. Week 1 feels like 10 years ago. But the biggest thing for me, rest of the season, let's develop these young guys. Let's see who on this roster, young player-wise, is a guy that can be a guy, that can at least be part of this future. Let's see, especially 2024 draft-wise. Second round guys, Ben Sinnott, Haven't seen anything. Let's give him the opportunities. Zach Ertz, I like the guy and everything, but let's make Ben Sinnott the starting tight end. And then, if he's absolutely awful, all right, you can bench him and go back to Ertz. That's fine. But at least try him out there. Ben Sinnott, Johnny Newton, Mikey Sanders, all those three guys have been underwhelming, for their, I guess I was going to say in general, but, Mike, especially this year. But Mikey was good last year, been bad this year. And then, Ben Sinnott's been bad both years. Johnny Newton's been okay. Just the thing is, he hasn't been up to second round pick standards. And it just hasn't been good. I mean, he's a backup defensive tackle. He's been off and on in terms of making plays. And then the third round, Brandon Coleman, would like to see him get involved, play a little bit more. I don't know how you're going to do that because you want to play Connerly, obviously, and you have Tunsil. So I don't think he's going to play, which is unfortunate because I think he's a starting tackle in this league. And then you've got Luke McCaffrey. He's probably out for the year. That sucks. Jordan McGee, he's another one of those guys. Let him play a lot. He needs to play a lot. And then, Jean Baptiste, he's out probably for the year. And then this year's draft, they've been playing the guys a lot. So, play maybe Cam John a little bit more, see what you have in him. And then Bill, keep playing him. But, if he's not showing anything, that's fine. We've seen a lot of Bill. And at this point, it's been on the downturn. But let's see if the second half of the season, if he can really, change things up a little bit. Trey Amos, get him, keep playing him. He's been good. But yeah, it's really just about developing the young guys. But it's sad, bro. If you look at those two classes, like, there's not a lot of guys in those two classes that I'm excited about. Really, there aren't. I mean, Trey Amos, I like him. Jalen Lane, I mean, I was excited about him, but he's been underwhelming the last couple weeks. Jordan McGee, I'm excited to see what he can do. But real quick, before we get into some of the guys I think they could draft, or some guys to watch out for / position groups, a word from today's sponsor. And a huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. So the Denver Broncos play the Las Vegas Raiders Thursday night football. That is tonight. So I do have some picks for this game. You can win real money making picks on this game. So I have Brock Bowers over 65.5 receiving yards. Had a huge bounce back week last week. Ashton Genty over 0.5 rushing touchdowns, anytime touchdowns. And then Bo Nix over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Make sure you guys check him out. Use promo code Pedro on Sleeper and get a 100% match up to $100. Alrighty, so again, huge shout out to Sleeper there for sponsoring today's video. So let's go ahead and talk about some players they should draft. Also, just in general, I think what is going to happen the rest of the way is a good thing for the Commanders being able to retool a little bit. Let's say they had Jaden Daniels for the rest of the year. Maybe they're a little bit healthier and rush some guys back. Maybe they get to six-ish wins on the season, and at that point you're getting like the 12th pick in the draft, and that's not what you necessarily want. So let's go into some guys that the Commanders could go ahead and draft this year. So overall, the Commanders' biggest needs, I would say, I mean, they have a lot of them, and they could go a lot of different spots in this year's draft. I would say receiver is up there. You're old at the receiver position. You need a stud too. And then I would say defensive ends probably number one, and there's some good edge rushers in this class. I would say, you can add safety into that list, cornerback as well. So some guys that do make sense. Bain is, from Miami. He's a good option to watch out for. I've seen some, potential of him slipping a little bit. But, watch out for him. Caleb Downs. Ohio State is a team to watch. If, just in general for, a lot of different guys on there for draft picks. But if you're trying to watch a team, watch them because, the Commanders could be picking a Buckeye this year. But Caleb Downs, or I guess next year, Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State. Jordan Tyson from Arizona State is an option. Keep going down the list. You got Keldrick Folk from Auburn. You got Arvell Reese, Ohio State, edge guy. TJ Parker, edge guy. Mansour Delane, shout out to the Hokies there. I mean, he goes to LSU now, but played for the Hokies last year. And then you go down the list a little bit more. You can see some of the other guys there. Where's I want to see where the other Ohio State receiver is. There you go. Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State. He's an option as well. David Bailey, edge rusher from Texas Tech. You guys can see down the list. My top 3 in terms of positions of need that makes sense for the first round for the Commanders: edge, receiver, and then probably, I don't know. Those are my 2. Cornerback, maybe. It could make sense. You could go safety, but I would say I would really, really lean strongly towards a wide receiver or edge for the Commanders this year. Quarterback, obviously not. Tackle, I would probably say no there, just because they just invested a first-round pick in one, and they got Laramie Tunsil. Unless you're trading him, that's not going to work. And then tight end, I usually would stay away from that in the first round, unless it's like a really, really elite guy. And and that's just, in my opinion, where the Commanders are drafting, which in my opinion is probably going to be like top 7. I think that's just a little bit, rich for me in terms of drafting a tight end that high. Caleb Downs, safety is a similar thing to me. I think it's maybe too early, but I would consider. So maybe cornerback as a third there, distant third. But that is it for today's video. Just want to give you guys an update. Might do a cap space. A lot of this stuff, guys, the rest of the way, there's not a lot to talk about. You guys, I know we don't really care about the games too much. It'll be cool if we win or if some young guys play well, and I'm going to talk about that. But mostly it's going to be about team building the rest of the way, with a couple videos a week on game stuff. Obviously I'll be recapping the games, and then also probably once a week talking about a young guy that shines. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.